We hope you're enjoying One-on-One with Leah, which features the radio shopping show, the most amazing show on the radio. Call 847-931-1410 now to live large for less with Leah. That's 847-931-1410. And now back to Studio 14 in downtown Elgin as you go one-on-one with Leah.
And welcome back, my friends, to WRMN. This is Leah broadcasting live right now from Studio 14 on this Friday edition of One-on-One. As I mentioned and promised, we've got some special guests joining us in the studio today. We have Rob and Miss Tess, and they're coming to us from the Raue Center located in Crystal Lake. How you doing, my friends?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Miss Tess, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to be here.
And we're happy to have her in the studio. I think this is your first time here. Have you been here before?
Yeah, no, it's my first time. I'm from D.C. and so excited to be here in Illinois for the summer.
Nice. Well, we're happy to have you. We get to be the benefits of that. Now, before we mention that and saying exactly why it is that you're here, Rob, if we want to talk a little bit about the Raue Center and maybe a little bit of the background, how long has the Raue Center been around?
Oh, boy, we've been around for a very long time. They've kind of gone through multiple changes. You know, there was the remodel. It used to be an old movie house. So, yeah, we've been around. I don't even know how many years. Because I'm going to give the wrong answer.
He's like, thanks for putting me on the spot, Leah. Yeah. Well, the point is though that it's something that's been consistent.
Yes.
You know, for people to find it. And first of all, I always love the location of it anyway. It's just like this really kind of cool setup there. And with the Raue Center, obviously there's multiple shows. So when it's a theater like that, the shows are always changing, even as much as people will come in for a one-night show, it's done, and then the next day is coming in. Does that make it a hard transition day to day when they're back to back like that?
You know, it does and it doesn't. I mean, that's the world of theater, you know, where you have, it's constant. I mean, I guess that's kind of what we as people that are performing in the performing arts, we thrive on, you know, is that constant. It's always happening. It keeps us busy. So, I mean, there's good and there's bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of hours, but at the same time, think about what the community gets to see because there's so much going on.
I never thought about that. Performers, writers, composers, producers are very nomadic.
Yes.
You know, you have to.
God, yes.
You have to be able. Says Miss Tess right here. You have to be able to come in and travel about. Well, we have been talking a little bit about as we have entered into the June and July and August season, kicking it off with Father's Day weekend. Obviously, for fathers, which has been a staple. I'm not sure how long they've been doing it. I know of at least 3, so I don't know how long they've been doing shows there. I know they've independently been doing some comedy shows, but a few years back, they just decided to get this group of guys together, and it's almost like being a fly on the wall because they're so naturally funny and they play off of each other so well. You think they would have been working together for years. Some of them actually have in a different format, though.
Well, yeah, and because I think John and
Steve?
Steve, yeah, I think they've worked together for quite a while. So, I mean, I know last time I was here, when we were here for Diary, we talked about John's comedy class that he was teaching for adults. So, yeah, now they're coming back with Forefathers.
And which is exciting. This time they're going to be joined by Jim Flanagan. And I remember interviewing Jim when he was out at Zany's Comedy Club. So you get a chance to kind of see this full circle. And I love the fact he's going to be such a great addition to that. And even kind of switching up the show a little bit. And so when they always bring in maybe rotating characters, it does make it a different show if you've seen it before.
100%.
Now, one of them that we have, because this is the one I wanted to work on today. This is it's an unusual name. It's Static. And first of all, I'm going to ask you, Rob, and then I'm going to go to Tess because she's the person that kind of brought this together. How long has this played? Because I was not familiar with it before we announced or we started talking about it online. So tell me what this is. What is this performance about?
This actually is a brand new show that Tess wrote. And I'm going to let Tess kind of talk to you about it, the whole process, because Tess started writing it when she was 14.
Wow.
So, yeah. And it went to a couple fringe festivals, and it's been workshops. So we are actually helping in the continued growth and development of the show. So That's probably why you had never heard of it.
Well, and but the funny thing is I had looked it up and I had seen that it had probably had some movement.
Yes.
And that might have been because, like you said, when she was, you had it presented at some theaters or festivals, I'd probably seen some traffic on there, but there wasn't a lot of information. So to go by, first of all, Tess, I want to welcome you to the studio. Writer, composer, Tess Rowan is joining us. First of all, very rarely will you see an individual. Everybody likes to tell stories, but there's a certain kind of individual that'll take it to fruition and do something like create a piece like Static Noise of a new musical. Can you tell us, first of all, tell us a little bit about this brainchild and how did it come to be? Did you know and have the intent that it was planning on being a actual production?
Yeah, so Static as a whole is a folk rock and Morse code musical about a teen girl trying to find her dad who's lost in the woods on the Appalachian Trail. And so when I was 14, I began writing the show, and I basically just had this idea to write a musical. And I had grown up doing theater my whole life, but I had never picked up an instrument or learned how to write a song.
Okay.
So it was a big learning process, and lots of years of learning how to write and research for the show. So much of Static is built into the real world. So yeah, it's been a lot of writing and rewriting and developing the past few summers that I've been able to perform and produce the show.
Tell me how the name came up. So Static, obviously, because it is sound sensitive, it's defining an actual sound that you hear. Tell me where the name came from.
Yeah, well, first, I'm just so excited to be able to talk about my musical on the radio.
Happy to have you. I love this.
Yeah, and because Static is mainly about radios. So in the show, we have these characters, Maine and Charlie, that communicate over the radio. And basically, the lead character, Maine, goes on the radio every day listening to see if she's heard any word about her missing father, and also to report the news back to her family that lives in the woods. So the show kind of centers around radios as a storytelling device, and we have these Morse code clues throughout the show. So the static soundscape is like really built into this.
So now with the Morse code clues, is that a matter of the performers or is that a matter of interacting with the audience?
It's a mix of both. We have singers and characters doing Morse code on stage. Morse code is built into the music, so there's Morse code lyrics and singing and piano rhythms and things like that. So the Morse code's in the music, but also it's an interactive element for the audience. The audiences get to learn Morse code and decode these clues throughout the show to be a part of the mystery that's going on in the plot.
And I love that. That, again, that participation comes back into it. Now, first of all, luckily you had some theater background, but I can't even imagine. There's one thing about writing a story, but then creating the music and writing the music and to go with it. Where did that hat come from? I mean, where it was, you obviously have wonderful mentors that kind of help direct you along the way.
Yeah, I really just was incredibly passionate about putting this project together. I have hours and hours of music inspiration and Pinterest boards and all these playlists to put together this product. And I took a lot of inspiration from folk and rock artists and modern musical theater, as well as songs that incorporate Morse code into music. I think that's kind of the strongest musical element in the show.
Well, if you think about it, a Morse code, like the dots would be like what is it when you have the static, not the static, when you staccato, right?
Exactly.
So you have the staccato notes of the dots, and then you have the longer like half notes when you have to the beeps and stuff that go with it. So I can see how there's music that would fill that kind of requirement. Now, so you started at 14. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 19.
19. This woman is can't even drink legally. But she can write a play and actually have it coming to the stage at the Raue Center for the Arts. Now, is this going to be your first official opening of the play? I know you've had it.
Yeah.
You've shown it at festivals, right?
Yeah, there have been previous older versions of the show, but this is the first time that like all technical elements are really going to be full out in the show, and there's been so many changes going on. So I would say this is the first really big production that the show has had.
Do you have to be, now, again, because when it is your baby, nobody thinks their baby's ugly, right? So when it's your baby, is it hard? Because I'm sure there are some things you're going to have to adapt to make the stage that you weren't planning on. Is there certain elements that you're like, absolutely, this must be a part of it, but this is the other way that we can kind of soften it up a little bit or make it a little bit blurrier than what you expected?
Yeah, I think the heart of the show with family and connection and music has really stayed throughout all the different versions, but I'm continuing to develop the show. Rob and I have worked a lot on rewrites and music with the music director Jamie in the show.
Yep.
So there's been a lot of development in this process, and I think since I've grown up working on the show, I'm able to kind of see past versions of myself in it and really kind of take a wider look at the show to be able to make those changes.
You have to sit back at the end of the night, and this is opening in July. So I think the second week, like the 12th and 13th, is that right?
We're doing an invited dress on July 11th, and yes, then it runs for 2 weeks.
Okay, so by knowing that, you have to sit back. So right now, you're probably getting close to the point where you are getting the actual stage performance. You've got everybody acting and doing their prep for the production. You have to sit back and just have I don't know, I think I'd have to hold my heart my beating heart, how exciting it is for people to actually see this, something that you've been working on for, 5 years.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And we start rehearsals on Monday, so there's a lot of prep going into that. But yeah, I'm really excited to be able to kind of give the show over to this community at the Raue and in the Crystal Lake area. We have a ham radio group involved with the show, so
of
that's
course
very
that makes
exciting.
sense. Yeah. And so, how many people then do you have for the production? How many overall? And that's I'm including everybody that you would need to have this come to the stage.
Well, there's seven in the cast, and then I'm directing it, and then we have our music director, our stage manager, we have an assistant, and then we have our set designer, our costume designer, light designer, sound designer. So I mean, it's a full company production.
Well,
so.
and again, talk about pride. I'm proud for you. But the other thing is because it's set in the Appalachian Trail, that obviously is going to hone into what some of the set decoration is going to be about, right? Yes. And then
outside with my family a bunch, and so there was a lot of research in terms of going outside and hiking, and then music-wise, I had kind of turned to a lot of different folk artists and to really look at the lyricism of the story and kind of build that into the show, as well as I'm a big theater geek, of course. Yeah. So looking at all my favorite musicals to see how we can add those elements into this show.
And I think it's so exciting. Again, you're going to start it out on Monday. It is Static, Noise of a New Musical. Tess, I wish you great success. First of all, I just have to say that I think after having years in theater, it's nice to see that there are people that are even taking it to the next level. There's one thing about being a performer. There's another thing that people are just really good at, and that's in the background. So to have one talent and to be able to wrap that around and look at the all over picture of what it would take to put on not only a play but a musical, hats off. Very impressive young lady. Oh, very impressive. So I wish you great success. I don't think you're going to need it. I think you're going to be absolutely fine, but we're fortunate to have it here. Rob, how exciting. When you find a play like Static, do you search it out? Do people like Tess kind of put it out there into the universe to see if anybody will latch onto it and gobble onto it, or how does that work?
Well, it's funny because I actually have known Tess for a while now. Yeah. I met Tess at Stage Door, which I know we've talked about before in New York. Tess was actually a winner of our Drama Fest program out there for our young playwrights.
Okay.
And I know I don't want to say I used to blow smoke all the time, but I knew, and I told Tess when she got here that I kind of knew that she was going to go places.
Yeah.
So when she started talking on social media about her new musical, I immediately started following it.
Yeah.
Just because I had worked with her and helped dramaturg some of her other shows she had written. So, and then talking to Richard Caranda, who's the executive director of the Raue, I told him about this piece, and I said, I think this is an incredible opportunity, not just educationally, but to bring it to the community because it's so different than any musical that you've seen.
Right.
So yeah, it was kind of a combination of seeking it out and reaching out to Tess and saying, "Hey, do you remember me?" First off,
I'm at this little theater in the Chicagoland
yeah, it's
area,
like I told her, I said, "I'm not
you.
at Stage Door anymore. I've come out to this place. I'm running the education program, and I'm really interested in working and developing your musical and continuing." And so we just started communication. When did we start? Like December, I contacted you? November, December?
So it's turned around that
fall,
fast.
Yeah, like it was like a casual conversation of, is this something you're even interested in doing? And it started as just going to be a 2-week workshop.
Okay.
And then I called her a couple months ago and said, how do you feel about doing a fully realized production? So, yeah.
And she said, absolutely not.
She actually, her first reason, she was very quiet. So, and I was like, uh-oh. And
She picked herself up off the floor, right?
and you were talking about this. It's her baby.
Yeah.
And, and then, so she said, give me a couple days to think about it.
Are you ready to share it in that format?
100%. And I knew that she had done the Fringe Festival. And I knew that she had been contracted for a year with another company that helped her continue the development. So I said, well, this will be fully realized. We'll take 5 weeks of rehearsal. We'll do 2 weeks of shows. And she said, let me think about it. And so I waited patiently for the week. So, but no, and here we are. So it's, I'm absolutely thrilled. I know Tess briefly mentioned this, not only because this is so new with the ham radio and the Morse code. We actually got in contact with the 451 Amateur Radio Club out in Crystal Lake.
Okay.
And we are now collaborating with them to learn all of this and to actually bring our cast in. They're letting them come in and see how radio works, how Morse code works. We're actually having their group come in and introduce our audience to Morse code so that they can learn how to read the clues in the show.
What a way of kind of like utilizing the entire community. And first of all, that's what theater is. It's community theater. That's the whole point behind it, is to bring somebody's brainchild, whether it's been a seasoned production or something new like Static, and bringing it to the forefront, and then having the realization come that everybody understands what their key role is in it.
Yep.
And I like the fact too that you're almost kind of tutoring and schooling the audience a little bit, because they are going to be participating, and you don't want to have it where they're just it's kind of like when you go to church and they sing a song and you're not sure what's on, everybody's thumbing through the hymnal, and looking at their neighbors trying to see where to go. But that's what it reminds me of. So you're preparing them for the whole production. And I love the interactive. Were you planning on doing that test right away, making it interactive with the audience?
The Morse code kind of really evolved throughout the process of writing the show, but definitely that audience interaction has been a big part of it. And it's so interesting to see in past versions of the show when you have an audience who doesn't know anything about Morse code or ham radio. And by the end of the show, you have a whole community together figuring out these clues, looking over their neighbors' shoulders. It's really a community experience. And I'm so grateful to have the 415 Ham Radio Club on board to help us out there.
And how cool. And plus, I do think it is coming back. Oddly enough, fate, I always have this, Rob, I was telling you this, that there's certain things that you just know are within, like they're going to happen, or fate has it. My bracelet is Morse code. So the bracelet that I'm wearing right now is Morse code. And so I think it's even making that trend. And there are a lot of younger people who are taking and going back to that ham radio and finding themselves places out there on the dial. So, well, you know what? I have to say, I'm proud of you. Even though we just met today, I am honored to meet you. I'm going to be one of those that says, I knew you win. And everybody else, if you do want to go and check out the production, it's Static Noise of a New Musical. And it's going to be running the 12th, the weekend of the 12th, 13th, and 14th, and then the 18th, 19th, 20th, and I think 21 is finishing it up. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And does that mean one of them, there's matinees for the 2 p.m. matinees? So you have multiple offerings on both weekends?
Yes, we have evening shows and we have matinee shows.
Okay, got it.
And actually, we want to let your listeners know as well that if they want to see little bits of it prior to the show, we are actually going to be participating in the Amateur Radio Club's Field Day in Crystal Lake. So it's either going to be on June 22nd, Saturday, June 22nd, or Sunday, June 23rd. But yeah, Tess will be out there. We're trying to, some of our cast members are going to be out there.
Yeah.
And we want to give a little teaser of the
Absolutely.
show.
Everyone's welcome.
It's like an official trailer. You guys can come out and go check it out. And what's the date of that again?
It is Saturday, June 22nd, 1 p.m., and Sunday, June 23rd. And that's just if everybody needs an address. It's 3208 Bay Road in Crystal Lake.
Got it.
That's field day for the Amateur Radio Club.
And again, if you want to find out how to get tickets for Static Noise of a New Musical, you can visit rausecenter.org. Very easy to find. You click on shows. It'll bring it down to the shows that's going to be running in July. Get your tickets right away and then go check out the wonderful performance. And again, I want to say, and I'm going to look at you guys for this one. Rob, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And Tess, it's an honor to meet you. So I wish you great success with your production. Have you got something else on that you're already thinking of something? You're just going to let this baby go for a little bit.
I've got other things going, but
I would be surprised if you said no. I don't think your brain can ever shut down like that. You have to always be thinking, well, you know what? We're happy to have you guys in studio, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. This is One-on-One with Leah, just speaking with Rob and Tess, coming to you from Static, and the voice. I always want to put this together. Static Noise of a New Musical. So what I was going to say, and you'll realize why when you go to see it, what that means. So Static Noise of a New Musical. We're going to be back with more in just a bit. This is One-on-One.